Again, hey everybody, it's CC and JT from the CC and JT Amateur Hour, but today we're not doing that. Today we are on our Nevada Author Network. The Nevada Author Network is a joint collaboration between the Sierra Arts Foundation out of Reno, Nevada, and our company, Two More Books, LC. What the two of us are trying to do is we're trying to highlight the fantastic and talented literary community here in Northern Nevada. Yeah, we happen to have a fantastic representative of that community for the third time
Yep.
because we just love having Jade on. So it's so cool to have them back on the big show. So, Jade, you know how this is. Tell us about yourself and tell us what we're doing here.
I describe myself as a creative firestorm because I'm both an author and an illustrator, write and publish horror adventure novels as well as tabletop role-playing games for the Call of Cthulhu system. I also like to run people through my games when I can. I have something that I'm doing, I started last year. When people get to run through my game, it's very common to have badges at conventions. So this is a little badge ribbon that goes on there. And it's a little, to me, it looks backwards. If you can't read it, it says, I played Call of Cthulhu with Jade Griffin.
That's very cool. People love
Only get
collecting.
them if you play at my table.
Good idea.
I don't know if you wanted me to just dive into what I'm currently doing, where I'm going to be.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about all that because not only do we like to help writers write, we like to highlight how writers write for those of us that are struggling in the profession. So take it away.
I am always full of ideas, so how I write is not necessarily the hard part. Finding time sometimes is. I write my best in the evenings because no one is bothering me. That's usually a common theme with writers. We need a quiet space, or mostly quiet. Preferably a block of time. Most writers like a pattern to it too, so not little bits here and there throughout the day, or maybe in the morning on Tuesday, or in the afternoon on Thursday. Just a set time. Some people like the morning. I just prefer the evening. I have a few appearances lined up that I'm going to be doing. My first one, I'm actually consulting my calendar. I should go to my website and look at it. It is posted on my website, which is jadegriffinauthor.com, under events. It'll be March 14th. I will be at the Galena High School Craft Fair with my daughter, and we will be selling our wares. If you have a book already, bring it by. I will totally sign it. You don't have to buy more stuff. I will also be doing a book launch, technically two book launches. The first one will be March 22nd, which is a Sunday. That will be where Sierra Arts literary community meets. And that'll be at the Riverside Gallery downtown. And that'll be I want to get the time right, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And the next book launch will be for the same book, but a completely different location. On April 12th, I will be at Coffee and Comics in Sparks off of Bering Boulevard from 4 to 7. And the book in question is my newest release. It is called Touch of Paisley, Book 1. So clearly more are coming. I tend to write in a way where everything eventually becomes connected. This is very clearly connected to my previous published novels. I have 5 now. So there was a set of 3. The Journals of Lacey Moore is what I call them collectively. There were 3 of those. The one after that was Mr. Smith, who works the front desk. And this one, Touch of Paisley, touches on some of the characters that you encountered in those books, as well as others that you encounter in the tabletop role-playing games that I write and publish, because everything's connected. Once I leave the table, the characters don't stop talking, so they tend to get stories.
That's
I
very
will pause
cool.
for a breath and let you talk if you wish.
Well, based on what you were just talking about, how the characters are all connected and everything, I saw recently that you got some merch with some of your characters on it. So could you tell us a little bit about that? Where did you get it made, and what are your plans for that merch?
I will show this one right here. This one is one of the mugs that I have had made. And I have heard other people use other places. For now, I used Vistaprint. I will start comparing prices if people want to actually purchase some of these. I might need more at a more affordable price. I also designed a new bookmark. I'm not sure how clear this one's going to be, but I also did the back of it too.
Good.
Horror, adventure, sci-fi, fantasy, TTRPGs, sometimes all at once.
Very cool.
And the last thing that I ordered from them was a tote bag. I won't take it out of the bag, but you can see it's got the characters that appear on the mug. All of these are characters that are in the book that I just published. The reason why I have this particular merchandise, there will be a raffle at each of the book launches, so you can win these items. I was told you cannot charge for raffle tickets in this state because we are a gambling state, but you get raffle tickets for showing up, and you get raffle tickets for buying my books. So, hint, hint. If you like the merchandise,
So you're not technically selling the tickets, you're selling your book, and then the person will get a ticket.
yep, it's a free raffle.
Great idea.
Okay, so let's talk about this tabletop experience or this tabletop experience and how it relates to your writing, because obviously there's some inspiration there and there's some, there's a little bit, but there's creative flow from here to there. So let's talk about that, because you said your characters keep talking, but it can't be that simple. Can it be that simple and that complex at the same time? Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Talk about that creative flow from gaming to writing.
It starts with, how does one's brain work? I've sat with many people at many different tables, and I've learned a lot from all of them. I've learned from my children, I've learned from my friends, and I've learned from strangers that my brain works a little bit different than most people. I can tell you exactly where I am at any story I've ever written. I started writing when I was 15. Definitely far away from 15 right. I am really good at remembering where things are, cataloging, categorizing. I have a very structured and ordered mind. And even though I get excited and I jump to other tracks, I can always go back to what conversation I was on before. So I'm a weird type of neurodivergent person. So hyper something.
Hyper creative. Let's go with hyper creative.
Yep.
That's a term.
Hence the creative firestorm branding. It pairs well with listening to people and being able to try and turn down my volume and my mental static so that I can pay attention to what they want to bring to the table or what their needs are at the table. Sometimes people are like, I don't have spoons today for that. I'm like, okay. And then that's how I play. How I write, I just listen to what the characters say. Sometimes I ask them, you're really doing that? Okay. It was a conversation I had with my players just the other day. They're like, oh my gosh, isn't it annoying, like when your characters do something you don't want them to do? No, that's their choice. I'm just going to write down what they did. So it's like I'm the personal secretary for worlds of people. It's a very interesting experience.
It sounds very fluid, working from one direction to the other. So a lot of authors have difficulty marketing their work because there's just so much out there. Do you feel like having this connection between the tabletop gaming and your writing, do you think that helps you with marketing, that maybe you already have a built-in audience set up there?
I do, and I also feel the pain of marketing. I am not good at marketing or keeping it up with it. I'm a creative. I want to create, not put all of my effort into, hey, look at my stuff. Although I do that too sometimes. It's an art form and a type of business that I am sorely under practice, I would say. I also do not pay for advertising, so I'm kind of a cheapskate.
Oh, no, that makes sense.
I don't
Get
have
it.
money to burn like that. I have kids. I'm not retired. I have bills. I can't do that as often as I would like. So I have to do my own promotion, my own advertising. It's also one of the downsides of being independently published. I'm one of millions of little fish in a big pond. How do you make yourself stand out? I'm actually in charge of a panel for Sierra Arts literary community that is going to be, I think it's March 2nd. Let me double check. March 1st, sorry. It's on every first Sunday of the month at the Riverside Gallery. We're going to talk about indie publishing and traditional publishing, and I'll have a panel of other authors there to talk about their experiences. We will be doing one on marketing, but that will not be this coming. It's just, I'm talking about both independent versus traditional publishing as well as marketing at the same time right now. And having the ability to sell myself through running tabletop games, that's part of the main marketing goal. You want to sell yourself. It's not about jumping up and down and saying, buy this. It's like who you are, presented literally at a table. Part of it in written form, part of it I'm doing accents, I'm playing the characters that they interact with, and they get to see that. And last year, I had someone so impressed that I was at a convention where I don't do anything but run games. I do not have a table, I don't sell things. She bought everything from me. I happened to bring a copy. She played almost every game that I was running. She bought every piece of merch that I had. And it was awesome. I had people coming up to me asking if there was space at my table. That had never happened before. My tables were full. I did change one game to allow 7 players instead of 6. So if you can imagine running 6, 7, sometimes 8. 8 is really hard. Don't do it. 8 players at your table and still make an enjoyable experience that people show up and they commit to. This is between 2 and 6, 8 hours of your day that you're committing to sitting down and playing a game and entering someone else's world. It's a very cool experience. I describe role-playing to writers as this is a time where you can share almost in a round-robin sort of way what you've created and get immediate gratification from people at the table, smiling, laughing, enjoying whatever it is that you've created. So that's why I like it so much.
So let's talk about this just a little bit more, but on the writing side. So the stereotype of the writer is somewhere in a dark corner, hunched over the light from the monitor as they're, tick-tacking away, very solitary internal process that eventually produces a product that goes out in the world. So it's the range. It's, solitary but very public all at the same time. And you wonder if anybody's ever going to get it. You just wonder if anybody's ever going to get it. But tell us how it feels to you when somebody out there does connect to your writing and that you can't quantify it, but they get what you're doing. Describe that feeling and describe that validation.
Definitely can describe it in an expression. You will see I get this big smile on my face. Like I get excited because they're also smiling and they're getting excited, usually talking about an aspect of my story or my character. Usually a character, because I am a character-driven author. The characters speak, I write, the scenes form around them. They just have things that happen in their lives that I try and make sound interesting. Most of the time they're more interesting than my characters like. I will point out one example that is not on the excited side, but has engagement with my readers. My 3rd book, the title is The Death of Lacey Moore, Monster Hunter of the Nights. And when I showed people the title, they're like, does she die? Like, you should read the book. It's not just a ploy. I can't reveal to you what happens for specific reasons. That is part of the joy, is having that mystery there for them. And when they see it, when it unravels before them and they're staring at it going, what just happened? Or they're very surprised about that particular ending. I also have an acquaintance that I bounce ideas off of who doesn't mind spoilers. I will tell people spoilers if they want to know, but I ask them, do you want spoilers? Because I think and I plan ahead. I'm not a pantser. Sometimes ideas get sprung on me, but most of the time I'm ahead in the chess moves of writing. And no, I'm not a chess player.
So with that in mind, you mentioned that your newest book is a part 1. Have you already started working on part two and et cetera, et cetera? Do you have a certain number of books planned out in this particular series already, or is it kind of one book at a time?
I thought it would be two, but now it's telling me there's going to be at least three because one of my players also reads the books. It's the same lady who bought all of my stuff. She's like, I want you to write this story. I'm like, this character is boring to write about. He's got a fascinating life, but he himself as a character is flat and static. So I need to find a way to make him interesting, and then I'll write his story. So I'll put that one on pause. But chances are high his short story will end up in Touch of Paisley, which I think I forgot to mention is a horror adventure short story anthology. So it's full of many characters with their own individual stories.
Okay, so we got to talk about this because this is something that I struggle with because I'm on the fourth book of the Sheriff of Nevada series, and so I'm always in my Kindle going back and forth between the first three books trying to remember who did what and who looks like what and things like that. So you mentioned you do have the talent though for remembering your characters and their circumstances and all of that, but do you have documentation that goes along with that to streamline that process? And if so, what do you use?
I do not have anything aside from either handwritten notes. I've started recording my game sessions because it's really difficult to keep up with writing notes and also keep up with the flow of the gameplay. Even though my players at present, some of the players that I'm doing gaming with right now, I have informed them this is a very rough playtest. And a playtest is when the material is not published yet. You are running it to see where the holes are. It would be like beta readers for authors. And I don't have anything aside from my notes. And I frequently use the find tool in Word because I type it up in Microsoft Word. I used to be a handwriting person. I would write it all by hand. And then I found out I type like 75 to 85 words per minute. So it's so much faster for me to type it up. I can type at the almost close to the rate that my brain goes. So it's so much more beneficial to do it that way. Know where all the files are. If for some reason I cannot remember where this one person came in and I don't know what file they're in, I sometimes do a search on my computer. But that's it. That's the extent of it. Normally I know exactly where the file is. The problem is I try not to have multiple copies of files. It gets hard with art if you have several copies of one similar file name. I'm like, okay, I need to remember to change the file name. When you ask for, say, the book cover, I needed to make sure it was the single book cover, not the large one with the back splash, the back blurb on it, and things like that.
Yeah, version control of files is very important in just about anything you do online. Going back to JT and him trying to keep track of things, what people have started recommending with his other series, the sci-fi, is that he do a compendium of the characters and the locations.
Yes. Yes.
Is that something you would ever consider doing for both your tabletop games and your books, or do you think your players and readers are familiar enough that that's not necessary?
I think that's a fantastic idea. Thank you for the idea. Yet another thing that I want to start now. I do the books, I do the games, but I do something other than the games as well. I do what is called a campaign form of the games, which is you're going to play for a while, like months. And it has additional material. It has things like an appendix, it has indices and things like that, but it does not have an alphabetical listing of who is who, that type of thing. What are these places? What is the Paisley Foundation? Who is Mr. Smith? Yes, I've seen those in books before. I actually got excited that I started putting my previous publications inside my current publications. That will probably be the next step, especially in something like the anthologies. At least a reference in the back of where these characters first appeared. I started doing that in the bestiary for the campaign that is going to take me a while to finish. Like, where did these characters appear? Where did this thing first appear? But I had not done that for my human characters.
Okay, so let's talk about the far future because you've got the next few months definitely mapped out. What is
Years.
is the, yeah, just a
Years.
little bit, years. So, well, but let's talk about years. So what is the big picture? What is your big creative picture? Obviously more games and things like that, but literary, in a literary sense, what's coming up next in the big pictures?
Life is finite. I know that I can't publish everything that I would like to because ideas keep coming and some things get pushed back. I can try though. My current endeavors will involve first publishing a series of books, starting with the first one. That the first one's finished, the second one is almost finished. I wrote these over 20 years ago. I read the first one to my son, and he's like, "When are you going to publish that?" So it is finally time. I told him it is not time yet to publish that. It is now time. I will publish it next year. It's called The People of Masks. It is not horror. I wrote it initially to be something more akin to how Christian Andersen writes, and I've left it alone for a long time. Now I will come back and look at it. Do I want it to remain in that style? I definitely still want to keep the story. It's kind of Alice in Wonderland-like. So that mixed with Roald Dahl,
Hmm.
I can't call it fantasy. There's
Just
nothing, it's fantastical, but there's no fantasy in it in that everything can be explained by science. So there's no magic involved. Even though it looks like magic, everything will be explained as it's sci-fi. Yeah, I'm going to call it that. Girl goes to another world populated by people that look like they're half dinosaur, half cat. So yeah,
that,
they're very nice. I don't
I
know
don't
how
know.
much spoiler you
That's
want on that one. The other one that I'm going to be working on are the Jade Griffin journals, which I started even earlier than the People of Masks. And it's something that I wrote a lot of. There's lots of material. I would write about Jade Griffin's past. I would write about, you wanted to know where my namesake came from. Jade Griffin is my pen name. Jade Griffin is what I call a gargon. So if you could mix like a gorgon and a gargoyle, you would get this gargon. This one is both sci-fi and fantasy. So there's magic, there's tech, there's all kinds of things. And it's slice of life journals. It's mundane mixed with magic. And I have enjoyed writing her story for quite some time. Those will also be published probably next year, starting. Amongst the other projects, there is
Yeah.
right.
one other IP, intellectual property, that I'm also wanting to put out, and it will be entirely game-based. Long ago, again, because I create so much material, this one was in the middle of all of my creative stuff. My then husband said, I want to come up with a game that involves fairy tale characters with superpowers. Keep in mind, this is before Grimm. This is before Once Upon a Time. We were driving back from a trip, and he has this idea. And it's such a good idea. He starts spewing some ideas, and I am drawing them almost in the dark because we're driving, and writing down some notes. This was the start of 56 Shards. 56 Shards is initially, it was a tabletop role-playing game that he and I came up with. And it is fairy tale characters with superpowers. Characters like Miss Muffet, Alice from Alice in Wonderland, we have Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and others. They know that they are fairy tale characters. Their goal, their mission is to go find the shards of the magic mirror, which is shattered, and bring them back to their home base. Mother Goose sends them out to go get the shards of the magic mirror. However, there are other factions that want the shards for their own purposes, because anything that has a shard has special abilities from the shards. The reason why I'm dispensing all of this out here, this is an intellectual property that is out there in the form of a webcomic. I did the webcomic for 13 years. I turned it into a novel. I turned it into a graphic novel. The novel and the graphic novel remain currently unpublished. I would prefer not to draw them. For the graphic novel, I'm still trying to find the best home for it, but I'm still going to start at the beginning again and make it its own system as a tabletop role-playing game. We played it with our friends. I would love to play test it with other people to see a broader audience how they would like it too, and go from there. Long goals.
You have so much mapped out. It sounds a little bit like what I have going because I have so many partially written manuscripts dating back decades that I'm going to be revisiting in the future. So I totally get where you're coming from on that. Do you find it's difficult to go back and look at some of that earlier writing when you're bringing it up to speed to publish it? Or is it something it's like going back to visit an old friend?
I'm more along the lines of old friend. I will look at a thing, I'm like, hey, beautiful. That's how I see things. I see beauty in so many things, whether it's a sunset or the architecture of a building. Even the cool woodwork behind you is like really neat to me. That's how my brain works. It's just there's everything everywhere all at once, and I just kind of intake it and enjoy the whole spectrum of life that is going on around me. So when I look back at my work and I'm like, I know what I started writing. I dabbled a little bit in poetry. I didn't really like doing poetry, but I didn't have any friends growing up. So I think maybe it might seem sad, but it sounds like that I have lots of characters in my head because there would be people that I would hang out with. Oh yeah, definitely. But for revisiting them, I would write fan fictions, and they would have very little stage instruction. It was almost entirely dialogue. And I still like to look at those, some of them. Some of them are worthy of coming back. When I look at what I call my original novel, it's one of the only things that I look at the title and I'm like, I don't like that title. I will pick at that one every now and then. I started that novel when I was 15. It will eventually come back around. It was the one that started it all. How about that? I'll leave that as a teaser for another time.
Okay. Well, anyway, this has been excellent. I've got so many more questions. I know CC does. Eventually, we got to save it for the fourth time you're going to be on our program. Let's go from there. So before we let you go, Jade, please tell our viewers where we can find you on the internet and where we can find your books.
You can find me at jadegriffinauthor.com, and you can find me in person in several places in March. I am also on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Just look for Jade Griffin Author. That's where I'll be. I'm also on YouTube, I think, as Jade Griffin Author. YouTube was harder to do because I have a YouTube account from previous things, trying to make sure my videos are just in one spot. I don't know. Like I said, marketing, working on it. Yeah, would rather be writing.
Yeah, it's a big lift. It's a humongous lift. We could probably dedicate our entire daylight hours to it.
Yes.
But for now, we want to thank Jade Griffin for being on our little program. What we do here at the Nevada Author Network is we try to highlight the literary artists here in Northern Nevada, specifically the Sierra Arts literary community through the Sierra Arts Foundation out of Reno, Nevada. Our little publishing company is happy and proud to be a partner in this endeavor. So check out we try to get something out there every Wednesday, every once in a while. So Jade Griffin will be there yet again, and that's perfectly awesome. So for now, for CC and me, thank you, Jade.
Thank you.
And thank you both.
Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.